Hello?
Hello, John, Matt, Tom, Wes, and Jane. It's Valerie.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good. How's it going?
It's going.
Got my first shot today.
Yay! You're on your way.
Yep. Like having Viagra. I mean, it's great. No, I'm only kidding.
TMI, John, TMI.
Must got a really good shot there.
All I'm going to say is make sure you turn the camera off, okay? When Pat comes in the room, just turn the camera off. We don't want to see it.
Oh, no, she's decent today. We did that one time, Tom. I forgot to turn the camera off and she comes walking in her pajamas. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the downside of the Zoom world.
I know. Always know where the camera and the mic is doing.
I
Always know.
can't put a background on here. My computer's doesn't have enough cores or something. I don't.
Well, one upside of this whole thing is we get to see the living rooms of the rich and famous now. You know,
Oh, yeah.
it's so funny. It's like, hey, the living room doesn't look that amazing, and they're rich, famous people. You know,
Get to see my crappy bike that I never ride, very rarely anymore.
well, it's covered under that tapestry. There's your problem.
Yeah, she covered the bike over with that thing.
I know. I'm always looking at people backgrounds. And I was telling a friend of mine that when you see people backgrounds and they have the bookcases, like my bookcases are always a mess. But when they're color coded, it freaks me out. I'm like, who color codes their books?
Maybe they're from a doctor's office. You know how everything's color coded. All the
Yeah,
got those little tags on the ends.
yeah, not all of them, but enough of them. It's like, ooh.
This isn't actually a picture. It's a puzzle that we just put up as a picture. We were so happy.
We used to do that at work. That's a nice puzzle.
Yeah.
Until somebody stole the puzzle.
No, that's not polite. Well, maybe
In a minute, but we've invited the NIMAC clubs to join us. And I suspect that one or two of these folks are from NIMAC. So if we say hello, Jennifer, you're NIMAC, right?
Yes, I am. I'm on the board of the Color Camera Club of Westchester, and I'm also a member of the Westchester Photographic Society. So yes,
Terrific, terrific. Welcome.
thank you.
Welcome. Let's see, who else? I see, let's see, somebody named Delaney. Could you unmute Delaney?
They
Matt?
can actually unmute themselves.
Okay. Hi, Delaney.
Hello. I'm Delaney. I'm from Photography is Medicine. I'm pretty much a disabled veteran that use photography to teach people how to focus and live in the moment. And so I'm just here to see what you guys are doing because I have a group with you guys in June, so I'm just need to prepare and I'm just here just to learn.
Terrific. Welcome. We're happy to have you.
you.
Let's see, Joan. I see something that says Joan's iPad. If you want to unmute and say hi, Joan.
Hello,
How are you?
I'm a friend of Valerie and Joe's.
Terrific. Welcome. Welcome. Thanks for coming. Are you a photographer?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Great. Great. Well, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And Robin Stevens, you want to unmute and say hi? Robin, do you want to say hello? Robin Stevens? You have to unmute yourself. Okay. We'll say hi for you, okay? And let's see, Delaney. No, we got Delaney. There she is. Hello. Where are you from, Robin?
Computer was going kind of slow, so it wouldn't let me unmute it. I'm originally from Louisiana, but I do live in New Jersey now.
Oh, terrific. Great. Welcome. How did you hear about the meeting tonight?
Through Hub Camera Club.
Hub. Okay, great. Good, good. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Fuat Baran. Can you
Hello.
say hi?
And
Hi.
I'm Fuad, and I'm with the Westchester Photographic Society.
Welcome. I'm glad to have you. Thanks for coming. Let's see, David. Who's David? Want to say hello, David?
Dave Sanders, maybe?
Oh, maybe it's Dave Sanders. Is it Dave Sanders?
Yeah, I think that is Dave Sanders. Last
Okay.
time it was Dave Sanders.
All right. Hi, Dave. I'm not
Yes.
used to hearing you called David.
Yeah, Deb, it's me.
Hi.
Hi,
We're
hi,
gonna
everybody.
rename David.
Hello.
Dave. That's his new name, Deb.
Okay. And how about Barb Batista? Want to say hi? No? You have to unmute yourself. Okay. Well, mystery person is Barb.
Barb is one of the charter members.
Oh, okay. Terrific.
She's been to a couple of the Christmas parties, but hadn't been to very many meetings lately.
Ah, okay. Well, we're glad to have you tonight, Barb. Thanks for coming. All right, we've got some, for those of you who are visitors, we have a little bit of business to go through. It shouldn't take more than 10 or 15 minutes at the most. So just bear with us for a few, and then we'll get on to Tom, our speaker for tonight. Did I miss anybody, by the way? I guess I should have asked that first. If I did, speak up and say hi. All right, I guess I did pretty well then. All right, a few things. I did send out an agenda to members, but I have a couple items that I added in that I wanted to just announce again, that Joe Gilchrist, our member Joe, is part of a two-man show at the Perkins Art Center, photography show in Collingswood. He had his opening this last, or his reception this last Saturday. And if you have a chance, you can get down there. The photos will be on display through May 15th at the Perkins Art Center in Collingswood. Also like to congratulate the folks who made it into the Odyssey exhibit. That is John Aniano, Vicky DeVico, Joe Gilchrist, Pat and John Matola, Michael Podway, and Lynn Podway. So congratulations. It's a prestigious exhibit to get accepted into. Just wanted to mention NIMAC again. We mentioned last month that we had joined the New York, oh, Vicky, I'm going to get it wrong again. New York
New York
Metropolitan area.
Metropolitan Area Camera Club.
Thank
Camera
you. Council. Okay. And that's, you met some of the folks tonight are on the call, but one of the benefits of our membership, besides getting to, talk to other clubs and hash out how how they do things versus how we do things. One of the advantages is that we get notifications of all the public events that they have going on. So you're going to be noticing, and you probably have already, that you're getting a lot of emails from me with invitations to some of the New York clubs to their Zoom presentations. And they've had some really good ones. The most recent one I can think of was a photographer from the Boston Red Sox spoke. So some really interesting speakers. So keep watching your email and, participate when you can and take advantage of the fact that that we have that benefit as a member of this group. Valerie, would you like to talk about Art All Night in Trenton?
I thought I handed that successfully off to you. So hold on, let me.
Oh, that's okay. You want me to do it?
Nope, I got it. So Art All Night is coming back. Found that real quick. It will be virtual, June 19th through June 20th. And you can start submitting your art now if you would like to. If you haven't gotten it, I guess we can go ahead and send out that email, forward it out to everybody.
Yeah, I think I did send, I can send the email as well, but if, and you got the agenda, the link, there is a link in there for submission for entries. So this year it's virtual, but hopefully it'll be fun. It's June 19th through 20th. I'm not sure. I couldn't find the deadline anywhere for submissions, but we do know it's open now. So if you want to put anything in, and folks from New York clubs, you're welcome to as well. It's you don't have to be from any particular area if you're interested in it. Is an opportunity, I think, to sell your work. So anyone is welcome. PSA, our round 3 submissions. Congratulations to these folks who were chosen by their fellow club members to represent us in round 3 of PSA. That's Fred Appelian for his Scotland photo, Tam Stewart, Hover, Fly, Eye. Boy, say that 3 times fast. Susan Little, Osprey with Bloody Fish, Lynn Padwee, Egret Reflecting, and Mary Little, Fish and Sticks, and Vicky DeVico, Tricycle. So congratulations for being submitted. Hope you do well. Linda, would you like to go over the treasurer's report?
Okay. Oops, got to get the right one up here. We currently have $4,384.50 to the club's balance. We've made payments for Moskowitz Consulting, which is the photo pro that we use to do our competitions. We've paid him. We've paid the UPS for the Postal Service for the post office box. We've gotten cash back, which from PayPal, because we've made payments through PayPal to people. We've gotten like $2 back or something like that, but it's something. So other than that, we have no other than judges and speakers. We've had no we have no outstanding, debts coming up.
Okay,
That's
terrific.
it.
Great, thank you, Linda. John, would you like to talk about Worldwide Pinhole Photography Day?
All right, just very briefly, on Sunday, April 25th, is Worldwide Pinhole Photography Day. For those of you who don't know about it, people from around the world will take a pinhole photograph. What is a pinhole photograph? Basically, if you can take the lens off of your camera, you can put a pinhole cap on the front of the camera and take an image. It has infinite depth of field. It has a very soft focus. That's why you have to use a fairly high ISO. You can take a picture of anything. Last year, I think it was about 1,700 people worldwide participated. You take as many photos as you like that day with a pinhole cap. You can upload one of them to their website. And last year, our club, I think there was about 16 or 17 members who participated. It's just a fun thing. It's not a competition. It's not a contest. There's no prizes. It's just trying to get a little bit out of your normal comfort zone with modern lenses, and instead try taking a photograph with a little retro use of a pinhole. In the past, and I still have this offer, if people want to have a pinhole made for them, I can do it for them for a $5 donation to the club. But we're under 2 weeks away. So unless someone gets in touch with me by email or telephone within the next day or two, I won't be able to get that to you quickly enough. But for those who participated last year, feel free to participate again this year. For those who got a pinhole cap from me last year and didn't participate, we might have about over 20 or 22 people, if possible. So that's just basically it. It's, again, it's not a contest. It's just something unusual to try. So.
Thank you. Thanks, John. So I think, as you all know, we have been searching for a new webmaster, and we think we have found someone, but I'm not going to make that announcement yet because they have needed to talk to Will first before they can definitively commit. But one of the reasons I say that, besides that being very good news, we need a second person. We must have 2 people. So we still need someone to step up and work together with this other person to make sure that we have coverage for everything. I think if Will has proven anything to us, it's that this is a big job and it needs more than one person. So with two, I think it'll be more manageable. But we need to identify a second person to work together with the person that we're hoping we will be able to announce the name soon. But this is Will's last year as webmaster, and we need to start training the new two people. Okay, Matt, if you want to talk about next month's competition, and then I would suggest that I think you said everybody can unmute themselves, but we may hear some applause at this next announcement, the last announcement, that surprise announcement that Will needs to make. So, not Will, Matt.
Whatever
So,
my name is.
take it away, Matt.
Our next competition for April in 2 weeks is barns. Basically, barns are wonderful to photograph, either by themselves or an integral part of landscape. Your barn can be old, new, in use, or abandoned. So pretty straightforward. You have until the Sunday before the meeting to submit, and I'll be sending out reminder emails, hopefully the week of. I got results in for the Glenny competition. This year they had 657 images submitted. There was 66 clubs that participated. 46 of them are from the United States and 20 of them are international. This year we did not get any, we were not in the diversity award and we did not get top club. They only do top 5, so we did not make that. However, we did get a couple awards. Let me find what I did with them. It's here, and I will share the screen for the awards. So we have Tam Stewart got a merit award for attempting a snatch. And then we also have Tam Stewart again, Hoverfly Eye. You got a merit award for that. And Sue Fielder also got a merit award, but she also got the best of show.
Ooh.
Yay! So
Sue got the best of show for
Congratulations, Sue.
Way to go. Sue.
you believe? Get yourself off mute, Sue.
Way to go.
That is big news.
The two lizards.
I'm shocked. Yeah. Shocked at that.
So most of you probably remember the image. It's one that also won, and I believe it was our wildlife competition, monthly competition, and it was of two lizards in Hawaii, Sue, mating.
Give me a
And
second, I will find it.
Oh, good. Yeah, Matt's going to put it up. But that was our big announcement. That is really tremendous, amazing news. I think, Vicki, Terry, those of you who've been around for a while, I think this is a first for us that we have gotten a best in show, Vicki. Yeah.
Yes.
For Glenny. So very prestigious, very impressed, Sue. Congratulations.
I am shocked. I fixed it a little from when we did it. From comments that were made, I tried to fix it a little. So it hopefully was a little better than the one I had here.
Well, it must have been. It was the one we had here was wonderful. Did you find it, Matt?
I'm looking. I think it's on the other computer. Just give me 1 second here. I put it in Dropbox, but apparently it's not here. It's here. Actually, it is here. Yeah, there it is.
You just got hair.
So this is the image here.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
They are so colorful.
Yeah, well, I toned down the green on the leaves a little and I tried to work with the tail a little.
Well, whatever you did, I guess it worked because you got the best of show for 2021 Glenny.
That's amazing, Sue.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I am stunned.
Yay.
Yes,
Yay.
congratulations.
They will be emailing, or not emailing, they'll be mailing awards to us. I told Linda that
Matt, we don't need that.
Linda check and make sure.
No idea. I can't see it.
Something for the
Check the
interpreter.
mailbox and get it. So
Wait, one fold again. There it. Now he's got it.
The aurora borealis looks pretty good back there.
But that's great. That's amazing. Congratulations, Sue.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Terrific. Okay. I'm going to introduce our speaker tonight, and thank you everybody for being patient. The business took a little longer than I expected. Tom Shanahan. Tom is, we just found out, I knew he lived in New Jersey, just found out he's one town away from me and neighbors to some of our other members. Tom's actively pursuing photography for the last 35 years. He grew up in New Jersey, and he loves making photos of local things, and the majority of his imagery is created here in New Jersey. He likes finding hidden gems of beauty among the items that we pass during our daily routines, and he maintains a camera go bag that he grabs whenever he leaves the house. And if you didn't have a chance, you might want to check out the flyer that we sent out. Has links to some of his photos, not just infrared, but others. And they're really exceptional. And I'm looking forward to hearing, Tom, what you have to tell us tonight. So welcome and thank you for joining us.
Unmute.
You unmute.
How you doing, everyone?
There you are.
Yep. So I was thinking when we do this, we could leave all the microphones on. Just, I thought it might will be a little more interactive if anyone has a question, provided it doesn't get out of hand, that, we could just sort of do a little tangent, go on little tangents if we want to, just to make it a little more, interactive, a little more exciting. So I'm going to talk about infrared photography. This is in no way an exhaustive exploration of infrared. It's basically the infrared I use, which tends to be the just near infrared. And I don't do, channel swapping or whatnot, but we'll discuss what that is later. So let me share my screen with you, and then we'll get on with the show. So here it is. Hold on a sec. Trouble getting to my screen here. How do you minimize this?
Do you want to go into presentation mode or just?
I'm good. Here we are.
There you go. Okay.
So just the beginning. So to start. So I thought I'd just go over a quick overview of, when you use it and, what's good and what's bad and some of the pitfalls and whatnot. But I think the first thing though is just kind of remember that, some people, there's a gimmick to infrared photography to a degree where people, it's gaudy in a sense, how some people present it. And, and I'd rather it didn't turn into, this is infrared photography. It's just another way of, giving an evocative photo is just, infrared's a tool, not end in itself. So So I'm just going to go over some of the basics basically. And after we cover that, I'll talk about some of the equipment and whatnot. And then I have about 25 pictures I put up. I have more, but I don't want to bore everyone. So I'll just start with this is kind of just an outline. Where can you do infrared photography? And infrared photography basically is an outside sort of thing, but I have seen people that use flashes to generate the infrared light. And it has a very unique appearance on people. It makes them like extra smooth. They almost look ghost-like. Sometimes you can see some of the veins a little more prominently and whatnot. But some people, it's not generally just outside, and it's just not out in bright light either. A lot of times I'll take infrared photos under, canopies and whatnot. And even though there isn't a lot of infrared, sometimes there's more there than you know, because your eye can't perceive infrared and you're never really quite sure. And that's part of the nice part of digital infrared is, instant feedback. You can see what you're doing. But it's not just for bright sunlight. And sometimes it's not so much for the infrared itself. It's just that it can separate things that you wouldn't necessarily. I was taking pictures. I was up in Frenchtown a few days ago, and there was a side of an old, Delaric building, and it had some vines and some old window, and the vines were green, and infrared that comes out a little white. But I didn't use it so much because I wanted the infrared effect. It's just that it separated the leaves out from the the window it was around. So it was just as a tool, just to kind of drag a difference, a contrast between these two features. So it isn't just outside all the time, but it isn't just out in the bright sunlight either. You can you can use it, and if you have a digital infrared camera, you can just use it and see exactly what you can get immediately. I do a lot of film infrared too, and obviously the feedback isn't the same. And like I was saying, during the day generally, but with flashes, there is it's sometimes can be used in other than just outside. Just what exactly is the infrared? You realize we have a electromagnetic spectrum, and there's you have your visible light, and then you have your near infrared, which is slightly into the red and then a slightly beyond it. But this is reflected infrared. It's not thermal. So you ever do those thermal pictures of people's houses where they're losing their heat out their windows? It's not that. This is only reflected. You're not going to pick up heat signatures or anything like that. So it's just another way of pulling out some information that might not necessarily see. And some of these cameras actually will go on the other side. They'll you pull off the filters and you can get UV light, and you can kind of see that. And it's just expanding your spectrum slightly just to give you some options. So if you're using infrared as a tool, what's it good for? And it's good for black skies. Now generally the infrared I use is black and white infrared and near infrared black and white. So it's like 750, 850 is the wavelengths. And what it's good, and I mean, it's not about, infrared itself, it's about what it does for you. And it's good for making blue skies black, white clouds whiter, vegetation brighter, and sometimes it'll pull out cloud shapes and cloud variations and stuff that you wouldn't see. And also, if you have light cloud cover with some light clouds, it'll actually make that much more dramatic. So it can make skies much more dramatic than you normally get. So, and these are some of its features. And this is what I was drawn to. So the next thing is, how do you do this? What equipment do you need? And there's a few ways to do it. First, you can have a converted digital camera, which most cameras, they have a filter built in front of the main CD, the CMOS or CDC or whatever chip you have. And it's called, what's it called? It's called a hot filter, I think. And it pulls out the infrared, because most digital cameras can see infrared, but it tends to screw up color casts, and it makes the color, a little weird. So they pull out the infrared. So you can go to a few companies that will remove this filter and put a different filter in place for you. So you can use a digital infrared, which is very nice, and the workflow is nice. You can get through it. You can see immediately your response, what you're dealing with. The other way, if you have an old film camera, and I love film, I love my digital. I love anything that makes a picture. I love, but the film I still enjoy. And I have a film refrigerator downstairs. It is stuffed with infrared film. Can't help myself sometimes. I think I own most of the Konica infrared film left on the planet, or I hope I do. So there's film, and then there's also filters you can put on existing cameras. Most, even though most digital cameras have, infrared filters built into them, so you can't see the infrared, still infrared leaks through. So if you put an opaque infrared or a dark red, mostly an opaque infrared is the way you want to go, in front of your camera, open up the shutter completely, the aperture completely, and if you have a tripod, it helps. You can shoot infrared. It's going to be very slow. It's going to take a while, but you can get infrared even out of a regular digital camera that hasn't been converted. So if you want to kind of dip your toes in the infrared arena, you can easily just get a filter and do it that way. And then, because photography often is just about the image and no one really cares how you got there, you can actually do it in post-processing too. You can get an infrared look. It's not necessarily infrared photography, but if you shoot a regular color photo and then the leaves are green and the sky is blue, and you just play around with it in the conversion. Photoshop has a converter, converts blues, color photos to black and white. And if you screw around with the right, toggle switches, you can convert a normal photo into looking very infrared. So it's kind of cheating, but it's not really cheating if you get a good image. So onward. So this is just a quick overview on where in the electromagnetic spectrum we are. So this is the whole spectrum, and that's just the visible light. And basically what we're talking about is right by the 700 and out just a tiny bit into the infrared. So here's the infrared. That was the color. That's kind of the visible spectrum on the left there, and the infrared. Now you notice the infrared's been cut into 4 sections. What we're dealing with near infrared, at least, is the NIR near infrared or shortwave infrared, and that's from about 750, I think it's nanometers, to about 850, maybe 900, and it's that short area. And it's that stuff that says emitted on the bottom. That's the thermal. That's thermal infrared when you have a special camera that sees that. So that's where we are in the wavelength. If you do want to get anything converted or whatnot, I put three. I've dealt with color vision and live pixel because I have about 4 converted infrared cameras, and they do a good job. And the nice thing about live pixel is if you're not too worried or you have a camera you want to convert, and you're pretty handy with your little micro tools, and you don't mind if you destroy the camera. Live Pixel actually has a bunch of do-it-yourself videos on it, and they'll sell you the filters and they'll show you how to do it. So you can save some money. It's around $175, $250 to have a camera converted, but they're very open with what they do and with their information. So you can go on their website and just see how to do it yourself, which is very nice. You think it's kind of, against their own business model, but they're still selling you parts. So that's good. eBay has a lot of already converted cameras. I got a Nikon D200 that was converted for like $125. So it's only 10 megapixels, but you got the job done, and it's surprisingly good, even at 10 megapixels. The other way is to get one of your old film cameras out, get some infrared film. They still make it. I mean, who makes it? There's a company called Mako out of Germany. Ilford still makes SFX 200, and Raleigh has their own infrared too. So, and if you go on eBay, you can also buy some, out of stock stuff. I have a large quantity of Konica 750, which hasn't been made in about 10 years. And I shot a 20-year-old roll about a week ago, and it still comes out good. The gray, the great base gray is starting to creak up, but still more than acceptable shots after 20 years past expiration date. So it's not a horrible thing. And then I was saying you can use your current digital camera with a filter. You're going to need a tripod, I would think, or just put it on the ground, but it's going to be a longer shot. And then and the post process, what I was talking about. So just a few pitfalls of if you decide to
Tom,
what? Sure.
I'm sorry, one real quick question.
Sure.
You said Mako?
Mako, it's
Germany?
MACO.
Okay.
MACO, you're a German company. They sell a lot of really cool, mostly it's an analog company. They sell a lot of film stuff, but you can, their shipping's not too bad. So, but I would check on eBay, and there's a place called freestylephoto.biz, I believe. It's .biz, California, and they sell a lot of really odd analog stuff, and you might be able to get it there first before you have to ship to Germany. Luckily, my wife's German, so we go over to Germany every so often. So I have everything shipped to her parents' house, and then I pick it up there and bring it home, which helps on the somewhat prohibitive shipping. But yeah, if you have any other questions, you can always email me or ask you after the meeting.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Thanks. One of the things I've realized, especially with some cheaper lenses and not even cheaper lenses, sometimes cheaper cameras, the way the infrared works, sometimes it has a tendency to bounce a lot in the camera body. So I've noticed if you use a smaller aperture, you tend to get a hot spot in the middle of the image, and you can compensate that later, but it's kind of a pain to do it afterwards. So I've realized a lot of times it's best to just leave if you find out your camera has this problem, it's best to leave your aperture fully open and then shoot that way, and just use your shutter speed to alter your image densities. It's just that it's a little problem I've noticed, and I've actually noticed even with film. I have a camera that has a data back on it, and I shot some infrared. And I noticed this little square at the bottom right corner. And I noticed there's 3 holes at the top. And the thing is, on a data back camera, you have holes that are built into the back of the pressure plate, and the light was bouncing. The light was overall bouncing on the pressure plate, bouncing back through the film, because certain infrared films, Kodak infrared film, doesn't have an anti-halation layer, which is a black layer that makes it so the light only hits the film once. And it didn't have that. It doesn't have that film layer on it. So it was hitting the film back and then bouncing back again through the film, except where these squares were, and it was actually darker in those areas. So just something you might think about if you're going to use a film camera. Make sure your pressure plate is consistent and homogeneous. What else I wanted to say? Oh, here's the downside. Now I have a bunch of converted infrared, but the ones I noticed myself using the most are the point and shoot versions, or the point and shoot sort of, one lens built into the camera. Because with an SLR, you can have them converted, the digital filtering on it. The problem is the infrared focuses differently. Lenses have a little red dot that adjusts for infrared focus. The problem is they have to calibrate the focusing for a lens that goes with the camera, but you can only calibrate one lens. So if you have an SLR and you have more than one lens you're using, you want to make sure it's, your everything lens. But if you have another lens, then sometimes you have to kind of I have a little piece of tape on one of my lenses that has another calibration mark on it. So I focus each picture, I let the autofocus focus it, then I turn off the focus and then slightly alter the focusing. And then I take the picture. So it kind of slows down your speed. But I've noticed that I have a Sony RX100 Type 3, which is a really great Sony camera. It's only about this big. Awesome little handheld camera. I mean, top quality images come out of it. But I had that converted to infrared, and everything is spot on. Every image is perfectly focused, and even with my converted DSLR, I was never getting that level of accuracy with the focusing. I'm not sure, it was getting to become an older camera too, but I wasn't using a calibrated lens. And shooting. Oh yeah, just one thing. I know you guys are digital mostly, but if you do shoot color, if you do shoot infrared film, make sure, at least in my experience, give it a good soak before you dip it into developer. They tend to be very bubble hungry. A lot of bubbles seem to, for whatever reason, maybe the dye is used or whatnot, bubbles seem to adhere aggressively well to the film. So you have to soak it for about a minute or two before you develop, just for any of you film people out there. So here's, I'm just going to go through a few photos and kind of just describe, how they were made and, what I was going for. And just to give you an idea of what, what you can get from infrared. So this is shot on medium format infrared. It's in Jersey, not sure exactly where, but the grass, which is green, comes out very bright, which is just one of the features of infrared. The clouds, which were kind of dull that day, come out with a little more texture to them than you would have seen with the naked eye. And you'll notice the trees are bright too. But so, it was infrared. It was actually, it was a weird version of Kodak. It was HEI, which is a high-speed infrared that Kodak makes, but they never made it in a medium format. This is actually aerial film, 70 millimeter aerial film, cut down and then respooled. So it's a bit of a pain to get this picture, but it came up with a decent shot, I thought. So and this shows that even in the shadows, you can get a decent shot. This is up in Delaware Water Gap and under some, obviously a canopy of leaves. Now there's some bright areas where the sun was getting it through, but even in the not so bright areas where the sun's rays weren't directly hitting, you still get a very good infrared signature. So, so it's not just out in the open, and with super bright sun, you can get stuff even under canopies that is a decent image. This from Paris. Notice that we have our little Eiffel Tower here, and I just squeezed it between these two trees. I mean, here I'm not sure if it's necessarily obvious infrared, but it brings the trees out in a different a different way you would see. I mean, this would be a black and white shot with dark gray leaves, and I'm not sure if that would really add it to the image, but so I'm not sure if anyone would look at this and go infrared image, but it brings a different light to it that I think is kind of highlights everything. And you notice the sky is very dark too. This is infrared too. I mean, it's not obvious infrared, but it pulled out some features I think that that you wouldn't have gotten. The cow would have blended into the green grass a lot more, and I don't think you would have gotten a certain pop that he has here. So, and that's up in Pottersville, New Jersey. I've shot this exact scene with and without the cow so many times I can't even begin to imagine. But every time I would drive in the area, I'm like, oh, I should shoot the grass again. So this is 35 millimeter infrared. I think this is the Konica again. It might be SFX. And it's not obvious infrared. I mean, there is infrared that people shoot they swap the channels. So like the grass, which would have turned out red in color infrared, they'll switch that and they'll make the sky kind of a weird turquoisey blue, or they'll make they'll swap the channels so stuff is yellow. And it creates interesting photos, but not ones that I'm particularly interested in making. But so a shot like this, you would have had the grass would have been green, which would have come out as kind of a middle gray, and it kind of wouldn't have accented the front of the blade on this this till the same way, this farm machinery. So the infrared's here not so much because it's infrared, but because it would accent, it'll bring out contrast in the areas I was looking for. And luckily it was tight enough that the grain and the details were nice. A lot of infrared films tend to be a little mushy on high details. So sometimes the near infrared's a little better if you get a finer, better textures on things. I included the words that I was starting to include the titles with my photos just to kind of add a little zip to them. Kind of a boring photo without the cloud house part. But this is actually, if anyone's been on Route 1 and got off on Sweetbriar Lane, there's an old factory there and there's a little stream, and I shot this while I was waiting for the light actually. So it's kind of interesting, I thought. But, this is kind of the macro version of infrared, which I don't think a lot of people use it for that. It tends to be more of a landscape accentuator. But I shot this on, this is Konica, not Konica, this is Kodak, HEI. And it just has a nice, a lot of times people shoot infrared for the fact that it gives a very surreal look, especially the high-speed infrared, Kodak high-speed infrared. And this isn't as surreal the way I developed it, but a lot of times you get kind of auras around stuff, and a lot of people like that because it gives them a ghostly appearance. So a lot of people enjoy that version of infrared, and for that fact, it does a good job. This is digital infrared shot in Paris, and I'm not sure if it's pretty obvious, I guess, that the infrared because of the trees, but it gives an oft shot. There's probably nothing. There's probably a few things in the world that have as many pictures shot of it than the Eiffel Tower, but I thought this would bring a different look to it. So I think it did. And here's infrared, but not obvious in any sense. It's a factory up in North Jersey. The whole factory was abandoned, but I broke it and then break in. I snuck in into the factory area, and I was taking pictures around the old factory. And I don't think this would have popped as much, that the ivy coming up the side of corrugated steel in a regular black and white. But the infrared just tweaked it enough that we got a contrast between the background and the foregrounds. And this is in Princeton, if anyone knows. It's the World War I memorial at the Battle of Princeton Memorial area. And it's just, you really wouldn't get this photo with a regular visible light photo. I mean, all the everything's that sort of white, generous. It's poured out some of the clouds. I got a little, it took a little bit to straighten it out, but it's a photo. I'm not sure the infrared's obvious, but it's because the feeling it gives is more than just screaming infrared, at least in my humble opinion. This is shot in Germany, and it's on conic infrared, and it's just it's not obvious. I think it's infrared, but I think it added a certain mysticism to the photo, and horses are a little less. They're probably a little less fine than it could be, but the way it brings the grass up, I think it would have been a much darker photo otherwise. But and if anyone has any thoughts or questions while I'm saying, chime in. There's no reason to wait to the end. This I shot. It was out actually. It's outside of Allentown, and I just wouldn't have picked this up any other way if I hadn't shot it in infrared. It almost looks like snows down, but the way it picks out the individual horses, I don't think I would have been able to pick out in any other medium. It's just and the way the sky has been blackened out and the clouds were accentuated. It's like an infrared photo because this is the only way you can get a photo like this. Otherwise it would have been gray in the back and the slightly darker horses in the front. And I don't think you would have even given it a second thought as a photo. This is Kodak HEI, but this is like the classic way most people see it. It's very, very, very soft and a kind of a glowing appearance because the anti-halation. What happens is the light comes into the camera, it hits the film, hits the back, and then bounces back. So you get this kind of a aura effect around a lot of the images, especially the brighter highlights. And it gives it a kind of a ghostly, mystical appearance, and definitely what's happening here.
Hey, Tom.
Sure. What's up?
Just a quick question. Some of the pictures have like slightly different coloring. So some look a little bit more black and white.
Yeah, well, I will tweak afterwards sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes I like to add a little sepia or a little blue sometimes. And I think that kind of, because sometimes they look a little sterile or a little odd. Sometimes I think if I warm up the photo a little bit, or sometimes I put a little blue, I will, because I'm not going for some sort of journalistic integrity here. I'm just trying to make a photo I find pleasing to my eye. Like this one, I toned it just a little bit with a little brown, a little sepia. And yeah, they'll come up with, I'll tweak them the way I think, it makes a better aesthetic. But yeah, there's no, I am not going for journalistic integrity here. And also, it's in a light no one can see. So I'm not sure anyone can tell me what it's supposed to look like. But yeah, I'll always tweak colors a little bit and whatnot. I don't tend to photo montage. I won't bring in elements that weren't existing, but I will tweak colors and, change contrasts and whatnot.
Okay.
Good question.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if that was because it was digital or film, that it had a slightly different.
No,
hue,
well,
but-
remember the film, I will develop the film in the basement, but I will scan it in. So it essentially turns into a digital photograph. And yeah, it's just, sometimes I will scan it on black and white. Sometimes I'll scan it as a color and as a color negative. And yeah, but that's, I will tweak that. So there is no intrinsic one way or the other. Unless you're sending your film out, then I think sometimes you'll get a sepia tone to it if someone else is doing your developing for you and your printing.
Okay,
It's
thank you.
another digital one, but it's like about 16 photos connected. And that just, my camera will, excuse me, will do, a big photo panoramic, but I've come not to trust it because it tends to, sometimes it creates little issues, especially if you're shooting in any sort of wind or anything, if anything changes between the scenes. So I just shot this one. I connected maybe about 15 or 16 photos together to create this. So I think it's kind of a neat, it kind of drags you into it, I think, or at least it drags me into it. And this is just one of the uses of infrared. You get better cloud definitions and stuff. So this is shot in infrared and digitally. And you would have had a light blue sky behind there, and it kind of would have brought the definition of the cloud a little less. It would have been as precise and as, striking, I guess is the word. But it's not that it's a great photo. It's just, shows the advantages of using infrared, especially in clouds and whatnot. It'll pull them out of the background a lot. This is up in Maine, another digital infrared. And even though it's not obviously infrared, it's, it adds a certain, you'll notice that the tree in the foreground, the leaves are much brighter than they would normally be. And it's lightened up that pine tree just a tad too. So, it pops some stuff out. And the clouds were quite dull that day, but it did pull out some detail in the clouds. So, this is up at the top of Washington, and there's really no infrared, there's no foliage or anything. There's certainly no foliage at the top of Mount Washington, but it just, it made the skies a little blacker, and it gave it a look. So, and here's a photo. It's not too far from around here. I can't remember exactly, but it just, you'll see what it did to the leaves of the tree and the background. And I think this was shot on my D200. So, even a D200 can give a decent photo. Actually, I remember when I started out in digital photography, and I had like a 6 megapixel camera, and yet you could get a decent image out. It's just a matter of who's behind the camera, not the camera itself. And this is film. This is Konica, and it just makes an ordinary scene a little different. Not so much that you kind of wonder what the hell it's a picture of, but just enough to make you think about it maybe a little more. And this is also infrared, but not obviously so. But I certainly, it pulls out the sky and makes the clouds a little more detailed, and it lightens up that tree enough that it pops a little more. So I think it's a useful tool depending on what you're trying to get out of a photo. And if you know how to know how to use it, you can definitely work for you. This is the parking lot at work, and I shot it infrared and then colored afterwards. So I just colored in the flag. I can't seem to resist. Every time I have a picture, a black and white picture of an American flag, I have to color it in. So it's kind of a sickness, I guess. Hopefully I can get help for it. And so just another shot of, the idea, your eye would most likely be drawn to the flag, but it makes the background a little surreal, a little different. So it might make you linger around it a little longer. This is out by, where is this? This is out in New Egypt, actually. The people yelled at me after I shot the picture of their house, but it's not their house. It was like their shed. But it shows some of the characteristics of it. I mean, it brought up the ivy. It's made it a little more obvious and a little more dramatic, I thought. So actually, it's 3 photos connected. I couldn't get the whole thing in because the road was right there, so I couldn't pull in. I'd have to walk out in the road and get killed if I went back any further. So I shot it and then connected it later. So I thought it had a nice look. This is this is my personal pitfall of shooting infrared. Every time there's a path surrounded by vegetation, I can't help but take a picture of it. So I will need serious psychological help for that too. So it's just this is actually in the park next to my house, and it you know, it's interesting. I guess it could be nice. And this is not an infrared picture. This is a regular straight picture, color digital that I converted to look infrared afterwards. I had shot it in infrared, but I shot it on some really old film stock that had some problem in the background. I don't know, it was like this weird mottled look. So I had it on color and I decided I'd make it anyway. So this is where you can get this is an example of making regular color photography look like color, black and white infrared. And that's it, basically. There's more if you guys want to see more, but I haven't filled in the time properly if we go to my website. But otherwise.
What type filters are you using on your cameras for the film?
What was that again? I'm sorry.
What filters are you using for the film?
On the digital infrared, the filter's actually incorporated.
No, I meant for your film.
Oh, for the film, it's kind of R72s.
Okay.
Yeah, a dark red. Dark red. The light red's a little too much visible.
Yeah, the 25As work okay on the HIE, but not so much on the other stuff.
Yeah.
You need like an almost opaque red on it. Because I've shot some F-key, some F-key. I've tried. What's the secret to the Ilford? I've not had a good success with just yet.
I've had mixed success with Ilford, especially if it gets old. I've had serious problems in the background and this modeling sort of look. So I haven't shot a lot of SFX. I have it, and I shoot it occasionally. I've been kind of 50-50 with it. I just use a dark red on that. But the thing I do when I focus afterwards, I've always focused in between, because when you're shooting dark red, you're shooting visible and near infrared. Yeah. So instead of just going to the red spot, the little adjustment, I go in between. I go halfway, one way or the other. And with a small enough aperture, it seems to compensate for everything.
Yes, I mean, I've used, I've had some, was it F-key? I've used F-key film. It's just that you have to use the dark filter on it. Get some interesting things with that one. They're out of business now. The Mako I've tried, that's another one. I think the Mako and the Rolly I think the Rolly is actually made by Mako. They're actually the same manufacturer. So I've tried that too. Not been as pleased with those for the
I'm still trying to dial in the what I should be shooting at, because you kind of got to guess with red a lot. And I was shooting it a little more like HEI because it said 400, so I was shooting like 3 shots on both sides, but I completely blew it. So I'm still trying to dial that in.
Yeah, it takes a long while. I've got, what I normally do is I buy a roll of 35 millimeter and say, okay, let's go through that before putting in my medium format. I also am going to try it with 4x5 that I have too.
Yeah. I have the most elusive infrared ever. I have 8x10 HEI. Unbelievably hard to get. And I got a feeling, I shot it a few weeks ago and I got nothing out of it. So I'm going to have to try some restrainers on it or something to try to make it,
Yeah.
It's like, old film and HEI is so finicky to begin with. So hopefully I can dial it in before I run out of film. So we'll see. But when you hit something good though with it, it's stunning. You can get some really amazing photos out of it. And with the film infrared, you don't tend to get that hot spot that I'm getting.
Yeah.
I get on a few of my digital infrareds.
You have an 8x10, you said?
Yeah. Matoyo.
Okay.
With every back possible.
Have you had any luck with Konica 4x5 film? I'm another large format user.
Konica 4x5. I don't think Konica made I've never heard of Konica being.
I don't know. I know Mako did. I know.
Yeah, Mako did it, and there was some EKFA, EKFE or E.
F-key.
F-key, yeah.
Yeah, that's
F-key,
I've used that. Yeah, but I haven't tried it on that. I've had the medium format. I have a couple rolls of the medium format left on that.
Yeah, there was some FK on sale on eBay just yesterday, which I didn't feel like spending $127 on, or $172 on. But I have about don't laugh at me. I have about 150 rolls of Konica 750. So filling my infrared, filling my refrigerator downstairs. So
hey Wes, you have competition.
Yeah.
I have about that in HEI. In my
Oh, really?
freezer.
Oh, yeah. No, I have about maybe 50 rolls of HEI, but I just don't shoot it as much. I like the Konica, but the more the better. That's what I say. The problem is we get shooting it all because it's gonna like eventually die and it's gonna be still in our refrigerator.
There is a trick to it. Is your freezer a self-defrosting?
Is it? I'm not sure. I think it is. Why?
I'll give you the answer. If you have a self-defrosting freezer, for a freezer to be self-defrosting, it has to raise its temperature periodically.
To melt.
Every time that happens, your film degenerates. If on the other hand, I'm friendly with John Sexton and Alan Rawson, they told me this years ago. If you want, I have Joe and I have shared film that we have some 4x5 T-Max 100 or some A-Cross 100 that's 20 years old.
Yeah.
And we've used it, and the images we get are as good as they were 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But the trick is not to get a self-defrosting freezer, because once you put it in a self-defrosting freezer, every time it self-defrosts over a period of years, your film is going to degenerate.
Yeah. Well, I have all my Konica is sitting on the refrigerator section, and I'm shooting 20-year plus Konica, and I'm still getting great images out of it. So
then I'm overkilling it.
Yeah.
Okay. Shouldn't tell my wife. She'll want the freezer back then.
You never have too much film. That's what I say.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the film I really have the most fun with. It tends to really give me consistent images and just the right amount of infrared too. It's fine grain enough because the HEI is very chunky. You know, you don't get a fine photo out of HEI, but some really nice stuff out of the Konica.
And you develop it in what?
I develop it in HC 110. Like it's probably like dilution. It's my own dilution. It's 1/43, but it's probably around maybe B's 131. So it's a little beyond that.
I can't tell you. It's been a while since I played with it, but if you try it with Rodinol, you might get.
Yeah, I have a lot of Rodinol because the other my freezer is mostly Konica 750 and Agfa APX 100. So I have most of the world's supply on both of those. So
I'll stop. I love your pictures, and I'll stop. Very nice.
Thank you.
Very nice stuff.
I don't know if anyone was looking at my site. If you have questions on any of the non-infrared pictures, you're more welcome to ask them. But that's about it. I don't know if anyone else got anything else to ask or questions or thoughts.
It's Valerie. I have a couple more questions.
Sure.
I don't know about anybody else. It was funny because I wrote down the question, have you shot in snow? And then the very next picture you put up was, it looked like it was one of those, you know, I don't know, like you're like looking at a, like a binoculars, but what is those things that, when you're out at an oversight and you have like binocular type things where you can zoom out?
Oh yeah, the binocular, the coin operated binoculars.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that the snow looked white. I was wondering if it would come out a different color, but it's
No, it's basically, the reflectance is just, it reflects pretty much everything. So the infrared reflects along with it. Yeah, it doesn't change snow. It will change water to a degree though. If you're shooting into water, generally you'll get it. The waters will be very black, except for the white parts. And then the white kind of reflects everything, you know, if it's got like frothy tips to it or whatnot. So, but yeah, it doesn't change those colors, but it will, the thing that's great for is, you know, pulling out vegetation and brightening it up. And for people that have digital cameras they've converted to infrared, there's a few ways to do it. You can get near infrared, like 750 or 850, but some people pull off the filters completely. So they get the ultraviolet side too.
Uh-huh.
A lot of times people will flop they will switch the channels. If you go into Photoshop, you get your channels for red, green, and blue, and they'll swap those channels out. So all of a sudden it'll look more like color infrared, which is, you know, all the grass is red and the skies are just turquoise blue or yellow, or you can do anything you want basically. So I'm not sure why I got here, but still, you know, it's like there's other options for the infrared, especially in the color version. It's just that I don't find them, you know, they don't seem to have what I'm looking for. So I don't tend to shoot those. and you'd have to convert your cameras differently too. So, but it's all interesting as long as you make an image you're happy with. It's all that matters, really.
Does anybody else have a question before I throw another one out? Chat, I'm trying to check chat.
Should I be looking at the chat?
Yep, I'm looking at chat. I don't see anything in chat. When you say you're coloring like the flags,
Yep.
How are you coloring your flags? Are you using layers or?
Yeah, I kind of learned Photoshop in a vacuum by myself. So what I'll tend to do is I'll just, layers would make more sense because it's non-destructive and I can just pull the stuff off. But I just do it the most painstakingly way possible. I go in and I trace out the where I know the red's good, and I just go in there and get in tight, and we'll just use the the quick select button and just go in there and just take an hour to do it. I'm sure there's a much easier way. It's not the way I do it though. So I just basically go in, select, and then I select everything that's supposed to be red, and then I'll just get into the color adjustment. Actually, will I do color adjustment? No, I will go in and just adjust the color I want. It tends to keep the levels of shadow and luminosity will stay there, and I'll just color that area, manually. But I'll do all the reds at the same time, so you get consistent, a consistent color and whatnot. I'm sure there's a much easier way to do it, but the more I use Photoshop, I think I know Photoshop, and then I see some guy and he's doing something. I'm like, I don't know any of these buttons. I mean, so much the Photoshop I still would like to learn, but I seem to learn as much as I need to get the picture I want. So, but half the problem, you spend so much time learning the thing you don't get to shoot. So kind of you're caught in a catch-22, spend more time learning the software, but stop shooting pictures, one way or the other. Time is a limited resource.
That I understand.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Hello, Tom.
Yep. Hello.
Yeah, this is John Aniano.
Hey, John.
A question, or not so much a question, a comment. About a year and a half ago, I started experimenting with my cell phone and using 720 nanometer filters. You can buy small clip-on filter holders that will go onto your cell phone. You can put infrared filters on, neutral density filters on, polarizing filters on. And what was neat is that you could use the panoramic mode on the cell phone, but you're taking an image in infrared. You do have to play with it quite a bit afterwards, but it does make, it's the same kind of effects that you're getting, but it's obviously very grainy because it's trying to use a ridiculously high ISO.
Yeah.
But it does work. It does work.
No, it actually works on the, what do I have? I have I have a Sony RX103 that I had converted, and it works good. I mean, it works decent. It's just sometimes I've noticed if I spin too fast, I'll notice certain lines showing up and certain linearities aren't connected properly. So what I generally end up doing is I'll shoot it with the panoramic mode, and then I'll shoot it manually too. And, and the nice thing about the Sonys is you can go on to the display features and you can get a level bar in the middle of the image. And it gives you, it gives you the axis up and down and left and right. And as long as you keep that relatively, right in the middle, you can just manually hit your pictures. And then I use it almost as a backup, I'll look at the original, I'll look at my panoramic, see if that made the grade. If not, then I'll just put it together. And it's pretty quick when you use the automate function in Photoshop. But yeah, it is neat. It's great. And especially if you shoot it in infrared, it's kind of a neat, it gives you, it broadens your horizon two ways. It gives you this nice panoramic, which are very interesting in themselves. And then you shoot it in a different light and it pops even more. So it's kind of, I like it both ways. Yeah. But I would suggest if anyone's getting heavy into the infrared, that just buy, if you have an RX 100, an older version, or some sort of, not even just a smaller point and shoot, maybe one's like I think like Nikon series, like the 9000 or something. It's just an all-in-one camera with a big lens. I think it's almost worth it to just convert one of them because you don't have to swap around lenses and stuff, and you're guaranteed a much sharper image. I've noticed, for at least in my experience, because I have a D200, and when I shoot with it, it's getting really old, but I always have to. I have this 15 to 24 lens for it, and I have to micro adjust it after. So I focus, turn it off, go in the manual, do my adjustment, and then shoot. And there's no guarantee I'm, at the same spot, even though it's super wide angle. It's not much of a difference, probably focus wise critical, but still, it's just one more little feature you got. If you want the branches to be, sharp afterwards. But yeah, the point and shoots, I'm really sold on them as an infrared vehicle. So, just thoughts, but thanks.
Well, the mirrorless cameras will also act as a point and shoot, and depending on like the Sony Alpha.
Oh
series,
yeah.
They'll focus, and they'll focus correctly. So
They will. Okay, well that's good. Yeah, because the Nikons, it seemed like when I sent it the Life Pixel, it was basically it's focused for one lens, and that's it. It depends on how focusing is, how the camera does its focus too. But there's ways to adjust apparently to focus. I've ripped a few cameras apart and put them back together, but I'm not savvy enough to know how that's done or have the instruments to do it. But it's fun when you can get a different sort of image out of the same camera. That's kind of why I like. It's kind of weird with film cameras. I have so many film cameras and I have a lot of digital cameras, but when the digital camera, when I stop using it, it retains no special feature for me anymore. It's like, well, it's not as good as the 810, so why am I using it? But the film cameras, even the older ones, they still retain something to me because it's up to the film that's in the camera that ultimately decides how good the image is. And it's no longer the camera itself. So to me, a film camera is more relevant, even if it's old, than an older digital camera. I'm not sure if that's the best way to approach it, but during the weekend, I tend to shoot digital. But when I used to go into work, into Trenton every day, I would always bring a film camera with me, and that's what I would shoot in during lunch or we have a long walk on the state way, and you never get to park where you work. So there's a decent walk between my parking and where I park and the front of my building. So I always will find images on the walk back and forth, and it's always a film camera I'm carrying it then. So I like to bring all the babies out. So any other questions?
I have a question. How are you?
Oh, very good. Yourself?
Good, thank you. I love all your photos. They're awesome. Yes, I am fairly new at photography. I'm an amateur. I'm a baby.
Aren't we all?
Yes, and like I was just curious, like if I didn't want to convert my camera, what would you say? Like, what is the best cost for a new person like myself with photography? What would you suggest to start off with? Like, is there special cameras that are available?
I wouldn't spend any money more than just on a filter. And
really, that's it. Just
just buy the filter and bring a tripod with you, or put something, just put the camera down on something. And this way you can get to see what the infrared will look like, and if it's something you want to go with. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And you can't, like, I mean, as far as like any pictures that are current, you can't, like, say if you took it to a photography studio and just ask them to take your shot, like, is there any way you could do your prints that are in color and change it into infrared?
Well, if it's a regular photo, regular colored digital photo, or even not digital, I mean, you can scan it. You can do what I did on this. I mean, you can do this to any photo, especially if this used to be, these were bright kind of yellow flowers. This is up by Pennington, and it was a blue sky, and this was from a regular color photograph. And you can just do it yourself, provided you have a Lightroom or Photoshop or whatnot.
I do, yeah.
And there's a feature if you go into adjust that it'll convert it to black and white. And what you do is you take your blue sliders and your purple slider and kick them over to the left so they go dark, and green sliders, you push them over to the right so they go bright, and you can kind of convert any image, well, depending on what the colors are, but you can tweak it to look infraredish if that's what you. I mean,
That's what I mean. Yeah, because I haven't. I've been so busy with everything else, but I haven't really played around so much with the Photoshop. So that's good to know. If I did have an image and not have the filter, I could still mess around with the current photos.
yeah,
and
yeah.
see what
You
it
can
looks
use any
like.
image you have and just, screw around. And I actually can use that as a way because, we don't need to be purists or,
Right.
if you don't want to. So if you think it'd look better in black and white with a little tweak in it, go at it. And this way, you don't have to buy new equipment and whatnot.
Right. And how much? Just out of curiosity, how much are those type of filters cost?
The filters, if you go on eBay, you could probably get them as cheap as, I've seen them as cheap as 10. And if you get a W, a big B&W opaque, it's going to cost you 150. But you can get them cheap. And if you just buy a cheap one, it's a good way to start.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I love having B&W filters, but I'm not sure if they're really worth the cost. But
Right.
it keeps me from buying them, but still.
And you said that on eBay, right?
Yeah, I just go on eBay because there's a lot of, they'll probably come from China and take a month to get to you, but
Right.
but it's not a big deal.
Okay. Thank you so much. And thanks for sharing your story and your photos.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for listening.
I have another question no one else does.
Sure.
I have two. I've been trying to Google the Mako German company.
Yep.
Would you happen to know
Yeah, let me look it up. Hold on a sec.
Okay. And while he's doing that, just FYI for everybody else, if you want to, we've been trying to throw the URLs in chat. So you can actually go in the chat, click on the 3 dots, and you can choose to save the chat. So if you miss any of the URLs that we're posting, like Tom's website, and some of the other things I threw in there, like for the
Actually, I'll put it in the chat.
Hammer Day, things like that. You can save the chat.
They just updated their, let me see if I can get into it. What am I doing?
I mean, I think you can get some of the Mako and Rolly. I think you can even get it from B&H if you needed to.
Yeah, and you get it at another place in California called
Freestyle. Freestyle does a pretty good job. They have some very unusual stuff. I mean, they've got stuff that you can't, they've got some really nice stuff that you can pick up at that point. Yeah.
Oh, that's the name of the film. I was looking for a company.
Yeah, the film is MACO, Mako Infrared, and it's actually Rolly Infrared, or the two.
Yeah, I just gave you the. I just put in the email address or the URL for the Mako in Germany. It's at .de at the end. It's makodirect.de, and then there's Freestyle.
I threw Freestyle in there. Freestylephoto.biz.
Yeah, .biz. Yeah. Great. The prices are decent. I'm a sucker for film, but I'm also a sucker for different developers. So I'm always buying these little tiny developers for this very highly specialized, like there's a film called Copex 25 something or other. And it's like this, it's a microfiche film, but they have a developer which will get enough detail because microfiche films tend to be super high contrast because they're shooting like, printed material, but they have these developers that will make it more pictorial. So I'm just a sucker. Every time there's a new one comes out, I'm like, that must be the one, I know that different, buying new equipment and buying new film won't make you a better photographer, but I'm always wondering if it's just not true, but I know it's wrong, but I do it anyway. I have a sickness.
No, you have a curiosity to compare the differences between different pieces of equipment and or film.
Yes, that must be it. Thank you. Thank you for making me feel better. The problem is, though, I never test anything. Some people test everything. They go out and they have just densitometers and stuff. I can't test anything. I have to trying to be shooting a photo every time that's good. So I can never get like a completely, scientific approach. Because if I have film in the camera, I need to get a great photo. Not that I do, but I cannot just, shoot the same, 36 shots of the same photo to try to figure out the differences and densities and what I should be developing at. But so it makes for a bad testing scheme, but occasionally good photos. So.
Hey, Tom, they say it's only an addiction if you want to quit.
Yes, exactly. There's no need to quit. because I could stop anytime I want.
Do you find infrared is more forgiving in terms of,
No, infrared's a little more difficult because you don't really know how much infrared's out there. So you got to bracket like crazy, by the way. If you're shooting film, bracket 3 on either side, at least. When you shoot a roll of 36 HEI, you're shooting basically like 9 pictures because you're shooting about six shots each time because you never know where it is. It helps if you have bracketing on your computer, on your film camera, because it's not forgiving, not really. And also the fact that you have the bubble issue sometimes when you develop. So I wouldn't, and the film itself is finicky because sometimes it gets bubbles even though you've done everything right. So I think the infrared film photography is not that forgiving actually. But digital is nice because you can just shoot 1,000 shots and see exactly what you're doing. Just the other downside of film photography, infrared, is you are just hoping your experience and you were lucky because you have no idea until you get it out, until you develop it. At least with digital, you can see exactly where you're going at least, Oh, one nice thing about it, if you convert a Sony RX100 or one of those versions, actually 3 and above, they have a built-in viewfinder because it's just a lot easier to assess if you're doing a good job when you have a built-in viewfinder. Even though it's a tiny little camera, only about this big. Hold on a second, I'll get my go bag.
I love the fact that he has a go bag. I am not that organized. I am so impressed, Tom.
Well, I leave my RX 105 in the car.
Oh, really? Ooh, I'd be a little scared to keep it.
It's in my garage most of the time.
So here's the camera, right? But and it's got typical back things, which is nice. But if it's too bright out, digital viewfinder. It's really nice. I wasn't going to buy the camera until they incorporated it into it because it was like an $800 camera with a $400 viewfinder. Like, are you kidding me? But a great camera if anyone's looking just for a regular carry around, point and shoot camera. It's a killer camera.
Yeah, I'm actually going to use it probably for, I've bought an underwater housing for mine.
Oh,
so
nice.
I can go take it under, do some diving with it.
Yeah. So funny you mentioned that. There's this company, IGN or something. They make drones, but they also made this very small gimbaled camera and like a little stick. Things like this big. I was reading about the underwater housing they have for it. I read about 6 reviews. It leaked in every review.
Wow.
What the hell are you selling?
Well, I know that I know someone who has the same housing that I got. They
Oh, well, that's good.
I was on a dive trip with them, so it's sort of like I know that that's probably going to be okay.
Yeah, no, that's always a good way to make sure that something hasn't slipped through the testing paradigm there.
Yeah, I've got I just haven't I actually went diving. I got it after I went diving, but I keep it around. So I actually ended up also with the underwater strobe recently too.
Oh, cool.
So I get that out of the way.
Nice. Yeah.
And maybe I'll catch you over at the park someday.
Yeah, and if there's a guy carrying way too many cameras on his back shooting it up to a tree, that's me. So.
That's probably well. Okay, we're both doing the same thing then. Okay.
I've fallen and I can't get up. I have too many cameras on.
Well, I've actually been over there and actually taking some mushrooms. When you get there's some little orange mushrooms that grow in the park. I actually was down on the ground one day and people said, "Are you okay?"
Yeah,
a couple of years ago.
Get out of my light,
Yeah.
Well, I'm funny. I'm always out shooting stuff on the sides of roads, and the amount of people that beep at me is just stunning. I'm like, or yell weird things. I'm like,
yeah.
I just find it strange that you had to. You had no control. There's a guy with a camera. Scream at him. I find the human condition a bit odd sometimes. So,
anybody else have any other questions before Debbie Chickens attack her?
Yeah, you don't want that. Nobody wants that.
We'll give you 30 seconds to come off mute.
And if anyone has any, if you go to my site and you have any questions or just want to, chat, then you can contact me through the website, I think, actually. So
Thank you, Tom. This has been very interesting. We really appreciate
thanks for
you
having me.
sharing.
I
Hopefully
love
we'll
talking cameras.
yes, we'll look for you in the parks.
Yep. Help me up if I'm down though. So
Yeah.
No. We're gonna just run over you.
Yeah, we're just
Run
gonna
over you with the
step over
bike or something like that.
yeah,
You know?
just steal the cameras and run.
Like, get out of my shot.
Are you bugging me?
Because the park's actually a good spot. I mean, the park. I mean, I don't know where the one path. What's that? That's not too far into the park. It's on the was it on the path? It's on the
Yeah. Well,
the
there's
path,
one.
right? There's one that's right on the path as you come out off of when you get onto the footpath into the woods. You know,
Yeah.
going down towards the lake from the area. It looked familiar.
I have one question before you leave.
Sure.
Years ago, I was told if you're shooting, I'm one of the few people who still have not embraced digital photography, but so if you're using a 35 millimeter, which has a film counter, I go back to the F3s, to the F6s.
Yep.
Or FE2. Will a camera which has a film counter fog the film, or do you?
I've heard of that. I have the F3 and the 4 and the 5, and I have the F3, and it doesn't have an infrared filter. So I've shot infrared, and I don't remember having any issues. Just that you got to remember on some backs on the digital, they have a camera window so you can look at what the film is.
Close it.
Lock that up with some tape because I had issues with that.
But the counter, you don't have any problems. I use an old FE2 for that reason. But
I don't. Yeah, I think the FE2 is old enough they weren't using infrared, but I have heard of the issue. So maybe you can check on the internet. But I think an FE2 would be okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
If it's got a little film window so you can read the type of 35 millimeter. I have electrical tape over mine because I think I had some issues with that.
And what medium format do you shoot with?
The Bronica.
Okay.
The Bronica. I love the Bronica, Chris. It doesn't have the Hasselblad feel to it. And the lenses can be gotten so cheap. It's astounding. And they're really good lenses.
Yeah, I've got a Mamiya that I use. I got a
Mamiya 7. I love that thing.
Okay, I got a 645. That's all.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I love my 7. Some of the lenses on it are astounding.
You're right. I have a 7 and a Hasselblad, and I've known the Hasselblad I used to love until I just recently found a mint outfit, and the weight of my Mamiya 7 with a 80, 50, and a 150 is the same weight that if I take I have a 503 Hasselblad.
Yep.
With a 100, the weight. I mean, the Mamiya is going to become my 4x5, my medium for my camera.
Yeah, no, it's a great camera, and I have the 43 millimeter, which I've heard lauded as like one of the best lenses ever existed. I got it. Luckily, I got it for a nice price, but yeah, it's just it's nice, it's light, and I mean, and people, I want to like it desperately, but I just won't pay the money. But when you think of the size of the negative compared to a Leica. I mean, how can you lose? I mean, it's 6x7 versus 24x36. It's like
if someone gave me a Leica, I would take it. I won't buy one.
Yeah, the prices in the Leicas weren't that bad. About 2 years ago, they kind of dipped for some reason. But now I look at M6 and everything one's like $2,500, let alone a Leica lens. I just can't do it.
If you want to treat yourself
I just can't do it.
I have a Hasselblad X-Pan, which
nice
shoots as sharp from what I've seen as a Leica, and it gives you, especially looking at your your infrared, shooting that as a panoramic or shooting it as a 35 would work beautifully.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they've just gone up in price exponentially.
Yep.
I had 2. I sold one for 3 times for what I paid for it.
Yep. And then the thing is, Fuji had, Fujifilm was making it with the X-Pan with Hasselblad at the same time, and no one realized they were the same camera. So for a while, you could get the Fuji version of it cheaply, but everyone figured it out. So they're both.
It's a beautiful little camera.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, there's a list of cameras that keeps growing for some reason for me, and I just like, oh, that'd be a nice one. Oh, there's a nice one.
There's always one. There's always another one on your list. One day I'll break down and buy a good digital.
Yeah, I just picked up a Context RTS3. The only reason I bought it is because my father-in-law had passed, and he had an 85 1.2. It was a Context anniversary lens, so 85 1.2, and I'm like, I need a camera that will fit this this lens. I couldn't help myself. It is the heaviest camera I've ever owned. It is like, I think like mortar fire wouldn't make it through. I'd still be alive on the other side of the camera. It is so heavy, but it's really nice.
Well, I carry my F5. I use it as a weapon.
Yeah, it's heavy, but I love the F5 because you can just put 2 fingers in it. It just holds perfectly in your fingers. I love it. My F4 roundy. It's not as easy to hold,
Maybe we can get a group session for therapy.
I don't want any therapy. I want more cameras.
Again, thank you very much.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you to the club for letting me come as a guest.
By the way, just one other question. Do you just generally, do you just scan most of your film then?
Yeah, I had the darkroom set up, but it's so laborious to print. And I just say I'm lazy. So yeah, I just got what is it? I got a Canon scan. And
Okay.
I had a micro scan before that. And yeah, I just scanned it in at like about 48, the 35 millimeter, I scanned it about 4,800 DPI.
Okay.
35 millimeter. Because there's some weird limit. It won't let you do more than 10,000 pixels in a row. So I scanned the medium format in at 36.
Yeah, I've got an Epson that I can do for an Epson flatbed. So
yeah, I have an old micro scan which can actually scan 8x10 negatives. It has a full bed for 8x10 scan, but they don't make it. I have to, if I want to use it again, I have to spend $100 on the software to run it because Microscan never updated the scans.
yeah,
Tom, I have another question since most of my questions are going to be film, but since you're
no problem. I love film. I love it
one
all.
of a few people. So I have a dark room and I have my enlargers and I print in the dark room. Joe's been there. I don't think Val has been there, but do you find that the images or the prints that you make digitally, even though you scan, because I have a Nikon CoolScan 9000, which is an excellent scanner.
Yep.
Do you find that the prints that you make digitally after you scan your negative are comparable to what you can create in the darkroom? It is laborious. It is more costly.
The thing is, the time when I made the prints and the time that I've now digital, and I don't even print out a lot of stuff. I think they're okay, but I think it's comparable. But I can't say I've done enough side-by-side comparison to really give you an authoritative response. But I don't think it's much. I don't find it that different. I also want to start doing some contact printing, do some platinum plating. And from what I hear from people when they print out digital negatives and then, they're going to expose them directly, I don't hear anyone talking about loss of, detail and whatnot. So I'm feeling with today's printers, good scan. I think they'll be more than comparable.
well, with the platinum plating, you just have to be aware you have to watch your contrast on those.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of alternate process work, so I've done some stuff with Van Dyke Browns, gum bichromates,
Yeah.
Things like that. I've done some platinum plating printing also. It's just that it takes a little. It's an art form. You have to get used to it.
Yeah. I'm at the very beginning. I mean, I haven't really committed to doing it. I have a lot of, I have a little dark room chemical lab downstairs.
Yeah, but that's really what you're going to be doing. Is most of that is going to actually, the best thing to do is just sort of, you really want to get you'll have to get a frame and expose them for the outside to the UV.
Well, I have a UV box actually. I made.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's more consistent.
Yeah.
No, you definitely want that. It's nice to use the sun, but you really can't trust it, especially in Jersey. So.
Yeah, well, it depends. Yeah, there have been days in the backyard or over at Mercer County. I've been taking courses over there, doing it out in the back of one of the buildings.
Yeah. They had platinum courses at Mercer County?
Well, they had actually the alternate process stuff, which they did like Van Dyke Browns, gum bichromates, things like that. They did have it at one point.
I'll have to keep an eye out.
One of the instructors and I that we went in on a platinum thing. So I have a couple prints that are actually I have a couple platinum prints around that were almost acceptable. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a sensitive process to say the least. I can
Yeah.
The hand coding and there's so many variables that go wrong, you know.
Yeah, well, the coding was one of those. There's a little bit different. The heat brushes and all like that. Using it like that, you can get into some. And if you can stick smaller at the initially, it's probably better. I have some. My best ones are probably my best ones are probably about a 4x5. On the 4x5, I've also made some digital negatives that I've actually used to actually print on too. So, to enlarge them and do it that way. So I've done that
Yeah,
too.
well, that's the other nice thing, a combination of the digital with,
Yeah.
Tom,
The Pictorico was the stuff I've used for that. So that's what I use for the digital negatives.
Oh, okay, cool.
One last question to ask you. It's been a while since I played with the HEI film. What are you shooting it at? What speed?
I shoot it I shoot it around 400, but I bracket both ways. But I used to develop it at like in D19, which is a really high contrast way to develop it. I've been putting in HC, the B solution lately, and I shoot it around 400 and I bracket mostly down, but I bracket like one up to like shoot at 800 and then I shoot it all the way down to 100.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Play with it.
Yeah, it's tough. The thing is you get a day that's got weird clouds and strange transmissivity. You don't know what you're getting. It's definitely it's a crapshoot, but it's a fun crapshoot.
When it works, it's beautiful.
Yep, that's for sure.
Thank you again.
Oh, thank
stop,
you.
otherwise I'll come up with another question.
I'll look for you in the park.
Yep.
This is
Help
Joe,
me out
by
if
the
I'm
way.
moaning. Otherwise, I'll take my cameras.
So we've had a lot of good feedback in the chat. I'm not sure if you saw it, Tom.
Nope.
Everyone says it was really great. Thank you. It was very interesting.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I'll look at the chat. Yeah, I haven't been paying attention. Well, I'm glad you guys I gave you something you enjoyed. I was afraid it would just be a recourse to the last person who did infrared and be like, snore fest, but
No, it's been a couple years since we had infrared, and he talked about Florida.
No.
Who was it? Ho.
Bill Ho. Bill Ho. Yeah, it was Bill Ho.
Bill Ho. It's a name fraught with difficulties, I'd say. Who? Bill Ho.
Yes, he had some stuff. He had done some. He had stuff that was a number of years ago. Was in the Ellerslie Open and things like that. So he had some of his infrared in there.
Yeah, I can see infrared in Florida being nice. Palm trees and blue skies. You can get some neat stuff.
Valerie, didn't Jackie Dickert do an infrared presentation?
Yeah, she did one way back when, a number of years ago. Yes. Yeah, yes. Jackie did one too.
Since I've been here. The other one was before my time.
Bill was in the last couple years. Jackie might have been before my time because I don't remember that, but that's not saying much either.
Dokey. Looks like we're losing people.
Yeah, they're dropping off. We had up to 32, so we had a good showing.
It's the film. Everybody's going snooze after the film. The four-letter word film comes out.
So what percentage of your club uses film?
One.
I'm glad someone's going.
I mean, really, it's a bad question. I may step on my toes, but I may be uninvited. When I think of photography, I like digital. I better be careful how I put this question. The creativity of playing with the aperture. I mean, digitally, I have an 810 that's probably 5, 6, 7 years old. I don't think I have more than 5. Joe knows because he always teases me. I buy my stuff and he buys my used stuff because my used stuff is brand new because I never use it. I prefer film, but it's just a creativity with film.
Yeah, the one thing I like about film is there's so many variables. I mean, there's the film itself, but you can shoot it different ways. You can, you can push it, you can pull it, and then there's different ways to develop it. And even though it seems like it's a negative thing, there are so many pitfalls. There's so many ways you can screw it up. But the fact that if you can dance your way through the right exposure, the right development, and just tweak it, just do all the right steps, and to come out with that image, to me, that's such an accomplishment to have, done all those hoops and got the image,
To
and
me,
that's the physicality of it. It's a piece of, I was thinking about this a few days ago. Not only is it a physical piece of film, but it is a witness to actually have been there at the image. Because once you make a digital image, it is literally just information. It has no physicality, no connection to the actual image, the actual creation of the image. But film was there, Film existed at the location. It is an eyewitness to the event that you saw. So there's
Speaking to the choir, I agree with you 100%.
I mean, does it matter? I don't know. But to me, there's a certain nostalgia, a certain reality that,
To me, it's having that film in the developer in those first 30 seconds when I'm shaking the tray and my image starts coming to light underneath my red light, and I say, yes, I've got it, or I don't.
Yeah, and that's the level. That's the print adds just another level of things you need to do to it.
And it's nothing like inhaling some good chemicals.
Yeah.
Brings
But
you back, brings you
the
back
other
to the
thing I
60s.
The other thing I like about film, though, is you don't have to worry about it. Digital, I have 6 external drives I'm double backing up everything on. Constantly, am I going to run out? Do I need to buy another drive? Do I need more external? Should I go off site? But film, with the exception of a bizarre.
You're right. I tell you the other reason for film, for the other people in your club, if they're really interested, you can buy a film camera for a few $100s. Tom will say this. I have, I shoot a 4x5. I shoot a medium format. So I use equipment that's 30, 40 years old. And I can get myself a nice old Rodenstock lens for my 4x5, which is, it never goes out of style. I don't worry that tomorrow they've gone from 20 megapixels to 24 to 30 to 36. That next week Sony's putting out a 42 megapixel. Wait, Canon's going to come out with a 50. Wait, Nikon's coming out with a 52.
They came out with it already.
My point is, film is timeless.
Yeah, well, you'll notice, the inflation on the chips, it's not as big a deal as it used to be, because they're starting to realize, 50 megapixel pictures. I mean, I'm running out of room already, and they're starting to realize, so they're scaling. They don't seem to be doubling that as much. The professionals need it, but
what I tell you, I've someone in your club does beautiful work, and I don't want to swallow their heads. I think with a 20 megapixel camera, and you said it, Tom, and I'm a guest, so I don't want to monopolize this, but we used to say this. It's not. I used to teach skiing as a hobby, and it's not the skis. It's the skier. It's not the plane. It's the pilot. And my friend who has a 20 megapixel camera, he'll correct me if I'm off by 1 or 2 megapixels. And I've seen his work, and his work wins first place in shows, and he doesn't need a 50. But I think it's like BMW. They tell you they have the ultimate driving machine. Nikon, Canon, Sony have to keep on telling you you need bigger, and then you need a bigger lens, and then you need a better printer. It's an annuity.
Yeah, well, this pinhole camera thing that's coming up, you get the right person behind that pinhole camera, it doesn't matter. It's you can do it in film, you can do it, and it's no lens. And if you get the right person behind the camera, you're going to get the image, in fact, you get a little luck in the right day and what. But yeah, it shouldn't be about the equipment, and the equipment helps to a degree. Like I have the 810, really nice low light stuff. So there it'll actually extend your range. You can shoot in an environment that maybe you couldn't. But for 99% of the other purposes, it's not about the camera. It's not about the lens. No. It's the person behind it. It's the vision you have,
a good lens is not going to make a bad photographer good, but a bad
Exactly.
lens could make a good photographer bad.
Yep. Well, I like to work on the first thing, even though I don't believe it, but I keep buying the stuff.
That's good.
Yeah, by the way, what you need to do with instead of taking everything into separate hard drives, get something that does get a RAID backup, and this way you.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about that. A RAID, or just get a DAS. What is it?
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's sort of like the network and as the network attached storage. That would get you there. I mean, I've got 2 of them that I use, so I've got.
Yeah. My
I've got
problem
more.
is I could spend the money on that or spend it on another lens or a camera.
Yeah. The problem is I've had a drive go on me, so it's sort of like.
Yeah, no, it's a nightmare. That's the part of digital. You lose a drive, years of work on, you know?
Right.
Yeah. I lost a full day of shooting in Ireland one time when I dropped the card.
Can I ask you a question digitally? Isn't that I store when I photograph digitally, which on those rare occasions, I keep my images on those little square boxes, those memory cards. I think they're called. Do they degenerate after time?
I've had issues with them myself. I have some, flash drives, the big ones.
That's right, flash drive. Those little cards.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's compact flash, it's called. And I've had them tweak on me. I've lost stuff. So I don't think they're a guarantee.
And you're right. I'm printing this week. I'm printing images I took at Yosemite 20 years ago on a medium format, my Hasselblad.
Yep.
And I keep my negatives in my safe. And you're right. I don't worry about them.
I don't. Well, I should have worried about mine a little more because I had packed them. My basement's ever so slightly damp and I just ran out of room. So I packed all my negatives into these crates, into these totes. And then I put a desiccant package in there thinking whatever little moisture makes it in will be by the desiccant. What I didn't realize is how the desiccant works. It collects the water in this little bag underneath, which unfortunately in 3 cases leaked. So it ended up filling the bottom of my crates with a 1/4 inch of water, which was seeped up into the negatives.
Oh, sorry for you.
Negative, maybe like 5,000 pages of negatives. The bottom negative was destroyed because color film seems to deal with wet over long times, but black and white like T-Max, the whole image will kind of condense and create these little spots of silver, and there's nothing left.
There is I have it in my safe, but inexpensive, about $39. It's called Golden Rod. It raises the temperature to about 9, whatever. It raises the temperature. You don't have to worry about a fire if something contacts. And you can get a hygrometer so you can measure your humidity.
Yeah.
I keep it's a Golden Rod. It charges, I think, $20 a year in electricity. It will maintain your moisture at a set level at 50%. I think it's less. Keep it about 40%. And I don't worry. And then I use the packs as a backup.
Yeah, no,
it's
that's
called
good.
Golden Rod. And you won't have that problem again because the packs, once they get saturated with moisture, they're of no value to you.
Yep. Yeah. I learned the hard way, that's for sure. Luckily, I didn't lose anything useful, but talk about looking back and like if I had done nothing, I would have been in a better situation. Drove me nuts, but yeah, I learned my lesson. But that sounds good. I'll have to look into that. So, okay, well, I think I'm going to go, guys. Thanks for having me.
Good talking with you. Thanks. As I said, we'll catch you around maybe catch you around the park or something like that.
Yep. You see me carrying the guy with the bag that's too heavy. That's me.
I have to come for the next film meeting.
By the way, have you been down to have you done any shooting down at the Van Nest, down at the end here? Down at the end of the street?
I like that trail back there. We've walked through it. I haven't shot too much back there.
There's a couple of little places where there are a couple of bends and all like this that might be interesting for the infrared shots back there. If you go down, you just before you turn onto Quaker Bridge, there's a little.
Yeah, I know where it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually some places I've been there with the 4x5 and medium format shooting. So that's just it.
Yeah, I've been there. Sometimes I just can't find the shots I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I need the connection of human connection, some sort of like barns, something shows that, you know, humans have been once there connected with nature. That tends to be my stuff.
Yeah.
Next time you go to Delaware Water Park, go up to Child's Park by the Water Gap.
Yeah. You know what's nice too is the canal. The canal's got some nice features in it.
There's some
Oh,
good
yeah.
there's some good shots by the
Down Route
waterfalls up
1.
there.
Yeah. There's some neat
Well,
ones
even
there.
along the river, even in Pennsylvania, either on the
Yeah,
Pennsylvania
yeah.
side or even on the Jersey side, along the Delaware, there's some really nice shots there. Yeah,
Yeah.
really some places up there that are really nice.
Yeah. I was shooting some stuff at the old site of the Congoleum factory.
Okay.
See, that's what I tend towards. So
Okay.
it's like destroyed abandoned factory sites.
Yep. Yeah. Not much left there at the moment. So
Not much. A lot of piles. Lots
Yes.
of piles all over the place. But there's a tree back there, some tilted pine tree. I shot that. That came out pretty nice, actually.
Good.
It's actually on my website if you're on the site. So, okie doke. I'm gonna go. Thank you very much for having me, guys.
Thank you again.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Have a great
Thank
day.
you
See you then.
again.
Thanks, Val.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
All right, Val.
Bye, Joe. Bye, Wes.
I'm doing
guys,
mulch this weekend.
Good seeing you, Val. Good seeing you, Joe.
Yeah, be talking
Mulch.
with you.
Mulch away.
Yep.
Yeah, I have a conference I have to go to this week.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Be well, guys. Hmm, 9:54. What do I want to do?